You ever have one of those moments where someone tries to humiliate you publicly, like full-on power move, and it just backfires? Yeah, that was my mother-in-law last Saturday. Let me set the stage. We're standing outside this super fancy Italian restaurant, white tablecloth, waiters in black vests, valet parking, the whole deal. My husband Josh is there, his two sisters, and of course, the queen herself, Susan, my mill. Designer shoes, crocodile handbag, and a personality sharp enough to slice diamonds. This dinner? It was for her birthday. She made that very clear. Like, a month in advance. You'd think we were prepping for the Met Gala the way she talked about it. I show up in a black dress, classy but simple, and she freezes when she sees me. Oh, she says. You weren't actually invited. I laughed because I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. I only reserved enough seats for family, she said. You know, people who actually belong. Josh looked like someone had unplugged his brain. His sisters stared at the ground. No one said a damn word. So I turned around and walked straight past them, right into the restaurant, straight to the host stand. I leaned in and said, "Hi, can you let the owner know that Maddie's here?" The host blinked. Of course. 1 second. My mill's mouth dropped open. Like, full cartoon style. Josh was stammering. Wait, what are you doing? I turned to Susan and smiled. You didn't invite me to your dinner, Susan. That's fine. Then I pointed toward the back of the restaurant. I just invited you to mine. Because what she didn't know, I co-own the damn place. So yeah, I co-own the restaurant. Not that anyone in Josh's family ever bothered to ask what I actually do for a living. As far as Susan was concerned, I was just that girl from the marketing job her son married in a courthouse wedding because I pressured him. Let's back up a bit. I'm Maddie, 32. Been married to Josh for 5 years. We met when we were both working in downtown Charleston, me in digital strategy, him in finance. When I left the agency world, I didn't tell many people. Why? Truth was, I was burned out, overworked, undervalued. Sound familiar? I had one client though, this small but amazing family-owned Italian spot called D'Angelo's. The owner, Tony, was this old-school New Yorker who ran his kitchen like a cathedral. I did their digital rebrand, helped them turn their weekly revenue from $5,000 to nearly 20. Tony loved me. So when he told me he was thinking about selling 40% of the business to retire halfway, I asked how much. He laughed. Thought I was joking. I wired the money in under a week. Thanks to some savings, a small inheritance from my dad, and a very silent LLC I'd set up when I left my job. It was mine. Quietly. No press release. No ribbon cutting. Just signed paperwork. My name on the back-end books, and a key card that only I used after hours. Tony stayed on to help, but I handled the branding, partnerships, and back-end. I didn't tell Josh right away. Not because I was hiding it, I just wanted to build it first. When I did finally tell him, he was shocked, but proud. He promised not to say anything to his family. Let's keep it ours for a while, I said. They wouldn't understand, because Susan, she would have turned it into a competition. She hated that I worked. She hated that I kept my own last name. She even tried to get us to sign a prenup after the wedding. Yeah, don't ask. For years I played it cool, smiled through her passive-aggressive digs, her accidental comments about my outfits, my makeup, my existence. But when I found out she was throwing herself a private birthday dinner at my restaurant and left me off the guest list, I knew it was time. I didn't tell anyone. I simply told my general manager to reserve one table at the back corner, facing the main floor. I'd be coming in late, alone. I didn't plan the confrontation, but when she tried to cut me out in front of the whole family, I didn't flinch. I walked in, let the host notify Tony's nephew who still manages the floor, and took my seat with a glass of red waiting for me. When I looked up, Susan was still standing at the front with her mouth half open, like someone had paused her remote. Josh? He started walking toward me, but I raised a hand, calmly. Don't right now. He turned back like a puppy. They were finally seated without me, but the mood? Yeah, you could slice it with a butter knife. A few minutes later, I saw her whispering to a server. Poor guy looked mortified. The server hesitated, then walked up to my table. "Ma'am," he said nervously, "your table has been requested to, vacate." I looked him straight in the eye and smiled. "Tell Susan I appreciate the suggestion, but she might want to ask the owner next time." I watched him walk away with that sentence, watched him lean down to her table and whisper in her ear. She snapped her head toward me so fast I thought she'd get whiplash, but I was already lifting my wine glass. "Cheers, Susan." So the night didn't end quietly. Word got around fast. Josh's sisters were texting him nonstop. His mom? She was fuming. Next morning, my phone exploded. "Why'd you do that?" Josh asked, trying to keep his voice steady but failing. "I didn't do anything," I said. "I just showed up." He looked conflicted. "Mom's mad, and so are my sisters. They think you embarrassed her." "Good," I replied. Maybe it's time they felt a little embarrassed. Turns out, Susan had no idea I owned the place until after I sat down. She tried calling me later. I let it go too. Voicemail. But that wasn't the end. The family brunch the next weekend. Susan was icy cold. Didn't even look me in the eye. Josh pulled me aside. "You might have gone too far." I shrugged. "Maybe, but I'm done being invisible." That night, the restaurant's phone rang. It was Susan. She asked for a private meeting. Curious, I agreed. We met after hours. Just the two of us. She looked different, vulnerable, not the queen bee. "I underestimated you," she said. "I wasn't hiding," I replied. "I was building." She sighed. "Maybe I was wrong about you." Maybe she was. But more than that night, I realized something important. You don't have to play their game to win. You just have to change the rules. When I left that late night meeting with Susan, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would calm down. Maybe she'd come around to the idea that I wasn't just that girl she'd been silently sidelining for years, but someone who deserved respect, someone who belonged. I was wrong. Susan is the kind of person who never backs down. She's relentless not because she's brave, but because she's terrified of losing control. And losing control meant letting me win. Word spread like wildfire in Josh's family, and the moment they learned I owned the restaurant, the way they looked at me changed overnight. Gone were the icy silences and whispered insults. Instead, there were awkward smiles that didn't reach their eyes, hesitant greetings, and a string of texts from relatives suddenly eager to catch up or talk things through. Josh tried to be the peacemaker. He told me, "They're confused, Maddie. They don't know how to act around you now." But the truth was obvious. They were scared. Scared of a woman who dared to carve her own space, who refused to be invisible. That tension hovered over every family event like a thick fog. Some days, it felt exhausting. The weight of judgment, the constant reminders that I was the outsider, even though I had a stake in everything they cared about. At tea times, I questioned if it was worth it. The emotional toll was real, but I kept reminding myself why I fought this fight. It wasn't about proving Susan wrong. It was about proving to myself that I was worthy, that I wasn't defined by their narrow ideas of family, marriage, or success. And then, just when I thought I could finally breathe, the real challenge hit. A week after that unforgettable dinner, the restaurant was slapped with a surprise health inspection, and it was no coincidence. Someone tipped off the inspectors. Someone who wanted to sabotage everything I'd built. Guess who? Susan. Her petty revenge took the form of a call to the city health department, masked as a concern for public health. When the inspectors arrived, they found what they were looking for: minor violations here and there, outdated labels, a small temperature inconsistency in the walk-in fridge, a cracked tile on the kitchen floor. Nothing dangerous, nothing catastrophic, but enough to justify a temporary closure. It was a blow, one that rocked my carefully nurtured reputation. Reservations were canceled. Staff morale plummeted. Yelp reviews suddenly mentioned the health scare, and social media buzzed with rumors. It was humiliating, the kind of public embarrassment that feels like a personal attack. Exactly what Susan intended. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because I had planned for this months ago, anticipating possible retaliation. I quietly launched a full overhaul of the restaurant's kitchen and operations. I hired a top-notch kitchen consultant. We installed brand new equipment. Staff underwent rigorous retraining, covering everything from food safety to customer service. We fixed every little detail from floor tiles to freezer seals. Everything was brought up to code and then some. So when the inspectors came back for their follow-up visit, the result was a glowing report. No violations, no concerns. We passed with flying colors. Susan's attempt to sabotage me failed spectacularly. Word spread again, this time about our clean bill of health and the improvements we'd made. Customers returned. The local food bloggers even featured us in a positive light. I received calls from loyal patrons expressing support. And then, finally, Josh confronted his mother. "Mom," he said firmly, "you crossed a line. This isn't about family anymore, it's personal. And it's hurting everyone." Susan was silent. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Josh looked at me and apologized. "I'm sorry for all the crap you've had to endure. You didn't deserve any of it." I smiled, though the wounds ran deep. "It's not just about her," I said. "It's about me. What I've had to prove to myself and to everyone else." Over time, the family drama faded. No more cold shoulders. No more whispered criticisms. Just a grudging, tentative respect, a recognition that I was no longer the other woman, the invisible wife, or the plus one. I was the owner, the boss, the woman who had the last laugh, the emotional journey behind the scenes. But the story isn't just about a petty family feud or a restaurant's health inspection. It's about my personal journey, the Maddie who left behind a draining marketing career, where I was just a cog in the machine. The Maddie who faced skepticism, derision, and countless obstacles just for daring to step outside the box. The Maddie who built something of her own from scratch, quietly, deliberately, and with every ounce of grit I had. The Maddie who learned the hard truth: respect isn't handed to you on a silver platter. You have to earn it, you have to fight for it, and sometimes, you have to own the room, literally and figuratively. I won't pretend it was easy. There were nights I doubted myself, days I wanted to quit, moments when the weight of it all felt unbearable. But I kept going, because I knew what was at stake. Not just a restaurant, but my identity, my dignity, my power. And now I stand proud, proud of the place I built, proud of the woman I've become. Looking forward, lessons learned and new horizons, and I still cross paths from time to time. There's no love lost between us. And no warm smiles or friendly banter, but there is an unspoken acknowledgement, a silent truce born of respect, not affection. I've learned to pick my battles wisely. To know when to stand my ground and when to walk away. To hold my head high, no matter what, and to always stay one step ahead, because in the end, it's never just about winning a fight. It's about owning your story, owning your power, and knowing that no one, not even your harshest critics, can take that away from you. Final words to anyone feeling invisibly so. If you ever find yourself banned from the table, erased from the story, or excluded from the circle, remember this: you don't have to ask permission to take your seat, because sometimes the owner was always one step ahead. Hey, it's Maddie again. If you've been with me through this story, the dinners, the family drama, the surprise health inspections, and the ultimate comeback, thank you. Seriously, sharing this isn't easy, but it's real, and sometimes, real is exactly what we need. Here's what I want you to remember: life isn't always fair. People will try to put you in a box, silence you, or even kick you out of the room you deserve to be in. They might ban you from dinners, exclude you from conversations, or try to erase you completely. But you don't have to accept that. You don't have to stay silent. You don't have to wait for an invitation. You have a right to your seat, whether it's at a family table, a boardroom, or anywhere you choose to be. Sometimes that means standing up. Sometimes it means laughing in the face of those who doubt you. And sometimes it means quietly owning your power in ways no one expects. I didn't start this journey to make enemies or to prove someone wrong. I did it to prove to myself that I am worth more than whispers and exclusions. I did it because I believe that respect and dignity are earned, not handed out like party favors. And the best part, owning your seat at the table isn't just about the power or the victory. It's about owning your story, your struggles, your wins, your scars. Because every step, even the hard ones, shapes who you are. So, if you're feeling invisible right now, if someone's trying to keep you out, remember this story. Remember Maddie, the woman who was banned from dinner, but who ended up owning the whole restaurant. And know this, your story isn't over. Your seat is waiting, and the owner is always one step ahead. Thanks for listening. Until next time.